Hi, I'm Michael Beach. I'm 39 years old. I have a sobriety date of October 13th, 2020. 20. Um, this is the longest period I've ever been sober in my entire life. 27 years of use, drugs, alcohol, gang violence. You name it, I've pretty much done it. Um, it's my short little introduction.
Intro. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story with us. Could you start off by discussing a bit of your childhood?
I have two siblings on my mom's side, and then there's about 6 or 7 of us on my dad's side. I didn't really not meet my dad till I was in my teens. Um, I'll talk about that later. On my mom's side, my mom did the best she could. I am the oldest out of my brother and my sister. I'm the only one that's in recovery right now. My mom married a guy who was abusive to keep her from being beat. I mean, he'd make me and my brother fight for his friend's abusement. It was pretty much excuse me, a lot of blunt force trauma throughout my life. Other than that, my mom moved and we went to Texas whenever she left him. She didn't leave him until she found out that he messed around with my niece or my cousin, excuse me, and that's when she left him.
Oh my.
Yeah,
So, at what age did you move to Texas?
I was around 11,
Okay.
10 or 11. Yeah.
And how were things once you went to Texas?
Not too well. There was a little bit of neglect, but my mom was doing the best she could at the time. I ended up. I can tell you what there was a lot of drinking. We were around. We were around a lot of people drinking and things like that. Like I can even tell you the time whenever I first started drinking, my uncle Red went to the hospital for alcohol poisoning, and or well, his liver was shutting down basically. Well, me and a friend of mine, we stole a bottle of liquor and the beer, and we started drinking from there. At that point, everything in my life didn't matter no more. I found something that loved me, and I loved it. It took all my fear, my pain, my anger away. It just made it all null and void.
And what age was that?
That was around 11.
Okay. And how often then did you drink?
Whenever we could steal it.
And that same feeling every time?
Every time.
Okay.
Every time.
So, how did your disease progress then?
I found a substance in my mom and them's room that I took and I sold to my mom's ex-boyfriend. I didn't know what it was at the time. I just knew that I could get money off of it, and we were hungry. So I took and I sold it to him. And I got some money and I got some food for me, my brother, and my sister. Well, I started doing that a lot because I would always have money. Well, I come to find out it was tar heroin. Well, shortly after that, like I said, got started fighting back in my school, and then I got expelled. I went to a different school. I helped out a buddy of mine who was getting jumped by people. I knew how that felt, so I helped him out. So not only am I a racist, now I'm affiliated with a gang because I didn't know he was in the gang. So then I joined up with the gang shortly after that. Plus, I had the little side. So yeah.
And had you started using any other substances at that time?
Not yet. I went and made a deal with this one guy. He's like, "Hey, you want to try this?" I was like, didn't know what it was like, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." I didn't like it when I first did it. I snorted it. I've never shot up anything in my life, but I didn't like it. It made me feel like I did a million sit-ups in like less than 30 seconds because my stomach was real tight and tense. That was the first drug I ever did was tar heroin, and I was around 13, 14 years old. Then I tried it again. Didn't really like it. Then after that, I started smoking weed, and it just spiraled after that. You name it, I did it.
And when you went to the new school, was there any support from the school? Did you get any help? How were things at the new school?
No, I didn't get no help from anything. At this point in time, I really didn't care too much because I was making money, and plus, I was doing what the gang wanted me to do. So,
And while you were in the gang, was there did you get any consequences from either your substance use or being in a gang?
there really isn't no consequences. You just go by what the gang tells you to do, and you do it. There was no real consequences. I didn't get in trouble by the cops because I don't know. I thought I was sneakier. Gave me a little bit of an arrogance. I mean, my real consequences didn't start until I got into an adult.
Okay.
So,
So let's talk about that. Into your 20s, how did you, what was going on in your life?
in my 20s, I was doing well. Let's see here. I'll take you back to when I was 17.
Okay.
I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I started selling and doing ecstasy, acid, GHB, and ketamines all at once, along with drinking on top of it. So that was a interesting experience. I made, I didn't get no consequences out of it, but it did, except for it made me lose a good job that I had. I worked at Surf Pro down there. I was getting paid pretty decent money working there. And I lived by myself. I was a block from the beach. Yeah. So, then into my 20s, the drugs kind of faded away. Every now and again, I'd do some cocaine, do some pills. I got a job as a DJ at a bar, so I had an open bar tab. So I could drink, and I was only 20, and they let me drink in there, and you're supposed to be 21. I'm not going to disclose the name of the bar, even it's no longer here, but
Right.
yeah, it's not too far from New Philly, so let's just say that.
Okay, so you'd moved back to Ohio at that point?
Yes, at that point I moved back to Ohio, yeah. I still sold drugs, I sold a little bit of weed, stuff like that, to get by, to supply my habit if I wasn't working.
And were you with family? Were they still in Texas or had?
No, yeah, we all came back up here and stuff like that. Bump it up to 2010. I got married in 2010. Then I found out I was gonna be a father, and I pretty much just continued drinking. I stopped selling drugs and stuff like that. Did the normal thing you'd say. At this point, I used to tell everybody, "Yeah, I'm an alcoholic, but I'm only a binge drinker. I only drink on the weekends." And when I drink, I drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you start to experience any consequences at that time with the binge drinking?
Yes. With the drinking, it was my birthday, and I got invited over to it was September 11th, 2013. My birthday's September the 12th. We were, so I got off work, and I had the next day off because it was my birthday. We celebrated on the 11th. We were playing Jaeger Pong. I don't remember it. I'm still trying to get my ex-wife to sit down in the house so I can make an amends to her. She says I hit her, and my sister ended up beating her up. I went to jail. I don't know the whole story because I was blackout drunk. But I spent a week in Belmont County Jail for criminal domestic violence.
And were you drinking at this time
Yes.
too? Okay.
Yes.
So, and was this continuous every day?
Yes. Yeah, all the way. My full alcohol addiction really bloomed up from 2014 all the way up until I got sober into October 13th. Well, I can't say October 13th, but I stopped drinking because that happened before drugs and alcohol took over. Drugs took over from, August. I got out of rehab. This is 2020. So from August to October, it was just straight drugs then.
Okay.
But, in recovery, they tell you about powerlessness. Let me give you all a little story about powerlessness, and sometimes it bothers me. 2014, actually September 14th, 2014, my little girl we had to take her to Pittsburgh Children's Hospital because her lungs were filling up with blood. They thought she had double pneumonia. The virus that's going around now, the COVID-19, there was a virus that's exactly like it. The only thing different was its name. It was called the enterorhinovirus. Same symptoms. You live or die. My daughter caught that. They ended up putting her in a drug-induced coma.
How old was she at the time?
She was 3. She had just started preschool, 3 weeks into preschool, and she caught this. It's my first child. She's got the same initials as me. It was my world. But it didn't stop me. My daughter was on the brink of death, and me and my ex-wife were trying to figure out how we can get some drugs, and she got a prescription from the ER down there for Xanax. It kind of, in a way, it helped me with the stuff, but the drinking didn't because I was an asshole. But when I got to the hospital, first, I was causing a nuisance basically because Pittsburgh Children's Hospital is a phenomenal hospital. I would recommend it to go to anybody to take their child there. They are awesome because they saved my daughter. The nurses that are in the surrounding area, they go to wherever a child's monitor is going off, and they flock to that room. Well, I was pulling these nurses from the other room because I was talking to my daughter, and she knew I was there. She wasn't completely drug-induced coma yet. They told me I would have to stop talking, or I wouldn't be allowed back in the room with my daughter because it sets off and I'm causing the distraction from the other nurses. Well, I'm standing there and I'm looking at my daughter and I literally can't sneeze, burp, fart, breathe too hard or my daughter's monitors go off. And I'm looking at my daughter and I can see a tear running down her cheek. And I can't do nothing to wipe it away. That's my powerlessness. That haunts me.
How long was she in the hospital for?
She was in the hospital from September 14th to October 30th.
Oh my.
Yeah, 90% of that she was on a drug-induced coma.
What was life like the 30 days before you decided to do something different?
Before I actually, to be honest, I was actually forced into getting into recovery.
Okay.
I'm actually in lieu of conviction for aggravated trafficking of methamphetamines. I had somebody came in and they did a controlled buy. I'm not going to get that person's name, but they mean a lot to me because they are family. Hopefully if they watch this, I just want them to know that I forgive them and they did the best thing for me and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, so you get arrested, go to court, have a history of substance use disorder.
Yeah.
So is it through like a drug court or?
It's
with the
basically yeah. At first, it took me to. I got arrested, and they indicted me, and I went to Monroe County. Well, I was like, I want to go to rehab, so they let me go to Neil Kennedy. I hope I'm allowed to say that. I went there for 35 days, got out. Then that was the first time I was going to try. I went, got out of rehab, went to, after lockup to rehab, to go into a certain 12-step program.
So you go to court and what happens?
Well, I had gotten arraigned on the same charge twice, and that's what this court hearing was for. Well, I go in there, they're like, well, we have to wait for your public defender. I was like, okay, can I go out and smoke a cigarette? Thinking, I'm not going to stay here. Fuck this. I'm about to leave. I am not. Then I see my public pretender pulling up, and I'm like, shh. So I call my baby sister. I'm like, that nigga your ass over here. I might be going to jail. I got court. Get over here. I go upstairs. I don't even get to see the judge again. My pretrial diversion officer sees me. He's like, come here. He's like, empty your pockets. You're pissing in this cup. I'm like, fuck. I wasn't doing that. I was drinking. That's my words. I told him. He's like, is there anything you got? Yeah, I was drinking. He's like, okay. Think we're going to have you piss in a cup? Okay. Because they used to send them out. Well, they went and talked to the judge, and the judge's like, lock him up. So they locked me up.
For how long?
I was in there for about 30 days, and then I went back to Neil Kennedy for another 32 days.
Okay. And what was different this time?
When I was in rehab, in recovery, the programs I go to, they talk about sponsorship. I talked to this one dude whose son was sick in the hospital. He just came from county just like I did, and he was talking about leaving. I was like, look, dude, no, it's the weekend. We'll get in up in the morning. We'll go and talk. And I got him to stay. He was able to get on the phone and contact some people. And he's like, you're my rehab sponsor. I turned around and made me want to go buy a big book. I read a big book. First time I ever read out loud in my entire life, besides when I was in school, was in rehab, and I had somebody else helping me with the words because I couldn't. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you left, what did you decide to do?
When I left rehab, I went to a 12-step meeting. It's right after rehab. Right after rehab, I went to a 12-step program meeting.
So the feelings part of life, the peace, serenity, acceptance. Can you talk about how how you feel that, you know, in your life.
In my life, because it's an interesting way things work out. Here, I'll give you a little example. Like the serenity, like cunning, baffling, and powerful. Your addiction will sneak up on you, and if you don't know how to handle it, like last week, I was having a shitty week. Broke up with my girlfriend. My kids want to be adopted. It was the anniversary of my grandmother's death. All the scenarios for me to do a relapse, with all the tools that I've learned and the peace, it was me grieving. I had to grieve for my grandmother. The girlfriend part, I really wasn't looking for her when I found one. My kids wanting to be adopted. The guy that wants to adopt them, I think he's a great dude. He's been there for my kids when I couldn't, but I'm not giving up my parental rights. I'm gonna fight. Instead of me and my addiction, I wanted to lay down and eat a bullet. This time, I'm standing up and I'm gonna be a man, and I'm gonna fight. And that actually brings me comfort and peace.
What words of hope could you share with someone who is trying to get sober and struggling?
Take it one day at a time. I really don't know because I've tried a lot of things to tell people. Usually I just tell
What
them
works for you?
What works for me? Just reminding myself that every day may not be good, but there's something good in every day, and that is you.
That is beautiful. Is there anything that we missed that you would like to share with us?
I'm an open book. I mean, I can sit here and give you a drunk log or a drunk-a-log. I mean, but yeah.
No, this was fantastic. So we really appreciate you coming out here today. Your willingness to talk about, you know, substance use disorder, mental health, PTSD, the struggles that you have in recovery. That piece is huge because, you know, just because people get sober doesn't mean that life just, you know, becomes roses and sunshine. But we find tools and people that can help.
Right.
And you are a shining example of, you know, putting one day at a time together and really being able to get well. So we really appreciate you taking the time.